here. We're back live in the Limelight. So exciting. I love going live. We were doing it, the recordeds for about a year, and then I just decided we're going to go live. I think it's the quickest way. It's the easiest way, and you seem to be loving it. So we're excited about that. As I said, welcome back into the Limelight. This interview you're going to be able to hear on the different podcast platforms that I'm on, which are Apple, Google, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Podbean. Excited there. And then we are going out live, as you know, to 5 Facebooks. We're going out to YouTube and Periscope right now. And then after this is done, we're going to go upload it. And it's going to get uploaded onto Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. We're going to be on Daily Motion, and we're going to be on TiVo and another 100 smart TV apps. So really excited about that. You're going to be able to see this fantastic interview with yet another extraordinary entrepreneur, and I'm going to bring her right on right now. Do want to remind you also about pressreader.com. So you're going to be able to see the magazine. This is probably the last time you'll see it. It is in the Limelight with Clarissa, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. We've got a new drop coming up on March 1st, so we'll be seeing a new cover very soon with Lady Carnarvon, who is the lady and lord. They own Highclere Castle, which is the Downton Abbey Castle. So exciting. So she's going to be on our cover with a fabulous feature in the middle. And I do want to remind you also about my collaboration with mynewsdesk.com. So the greatest place to go for new press releases and news releases. They have absolutely changed the trajectory of my business and the journalists that I'm able to reach all over the world. So with that having said, I'm going to be bringing her on now. She's a new friend of mine. Here she goes, Annie Koshy. Hey, she's a branding specialist, everybody. And who doesn't need to be taking a little bit more look at their brand? I think as we go, and Angie's going to talk to us about that as we go. We need to do little tweaks along the way. So Angie and I met recently, and I was on her show, so she's on my show. And we are very, very similar in the sense that we've been in front of a microphone, I think, Angie, since, I think right after they weaned us off the bottle, they handed us a microphone. And that's how our careers sort of move forward. Very exciting, though, to have you on. You are a branding specialist, and you've been in the media for a very long time. In fact, you are an award-winning media professional. You do a lot of hosting with a lot of shows, and you're a media consultant as well. So let's take a look at, and then we're going to talk about your film, which I really want to touch upon, and your book. But let's touch upon a couple of the paramount things that solopreneurs and entrepreneurs need to keep in mind about branding. Well, I already branded. Isn't that enough? I did it once. Why do I have to continually, touch and tweak?
Hi there. It's such a pleasure to be here, Clarissa. Thank you so much. My name is Annie Koshy, and as Clarissa said, branding is one of the areas that I focus on, but I really like to listen and highlight people's stories, and it is about stories. So when you're looking at personal branding, Clarissa, it is about how do you take your story and then share it and make it that it resonates with someone else, that they are interested in, they are buying in some sense to what it is that you are sharing. And through that sharing of your story, you're able to bring that humanness, that personal side to your message. And it is that. So a lot of people as entrepreneurs have an intention of getting out there and they want to share their product, their service out there, but they are marketing to people and they're not really reaching them in the way that they need to. And that's because they're not able to connect their story with their customer base or their client. And that's a personal branding message issue that's about having a consistency of the brand, about what it is that you're saying, and having that consistent across various platforms. And so I help and work with individuals as they clarify and niche down on their personal brand story.
Right. Why do you think that became so important? Because that wasn't always the case with branding, and it wasn't always the case in marketing, and it certainly wasn't always the case in sales. It was, this is who I am, this is who we are, this is our product or service, you want it or don't you? Was kind of really the way it used to be for a very long time. Then all of a sudden we started to hear about stories and authenticity and really capturing our end user, our client, our customer in a different way. When did that start happening, and why do you think that's so important?
Oh my gosh, as soon as you have competition, this is what it is. You have a sea of people and you're sharing your stuff to that same sea of people. And so how do you stand out in that and not be amongst everyone and be mediocre amongst everyone, one of many? And so standing out to stand apart is one thing, but also large corporations realize that, yeah, it's great to have the money. It's great to stand out there. It's great to have the message. It's great to have the mission and vision, but you're not connecting really with the customer base. And yeah, you can have new customers plug in and you can constantly have this turnover of your customer base, or you can have customer retention. You can have loyalty. You can have those values where you have customers coming back to you again and again, and you're building relationships. As we've seen, the best businesses that have survived are the ones that have built a real strong relationship with their clients.
Right.
And we've never had as many entrepreneurs out there in the world as we do now. Yeah. Entrepreneuring is really the way forward. People want to be their own boss. They want to be able to lead their lives and construct their lives and create the time and the space to enjoy what it is that you're working for in the first place, which is money, and have the ability to spend it with your family. But if you're working 12, 14, 16 hours a day for someone else and you're doing it, but you're not spending that, by the time you reach retirement age and you go, phew, I can now use that money that I've stored and saved, oftentimes you're ill or you're not able to actually utilize it. So it's in the now. So the message from solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, and what large corporations are now applying to them as well, is this personal brand story, why it's important to build those relationships with the client base, and how important it is that it's not just about having a message as a company. It's not just about having a fantastic product. A lot of products are out there. What makes it unique is the small shop mentality of nurturing each customer as being the only customer, making them feel like they're the best thing next to apple pie, you know,
or
and
bread.
Yeah, and making them feel really special.
Right.
And it's that specialness. Everyone wants to feel special. And
right.
So
it's funny because we often hear people say, and branding is not your logo. It's a whole different thing. And branding is it's not easy for most, for a lot of people to understand exactly what that is. What would you say are one of the top 1 or 2 mistakes that companies, solopreneurs and entrepreneurs are making with their branding?
Inconsistency across the brand. And gone are the days where you can say that your social media and your personal and your professional are not connected. You can't do that any longer. The minute you have your name out there, you associate it with, and people will find your name associated with a company, they're going to find you on all social media platforms. If your messaging is inconsistent on your personal branding as versus your company branding, you're not going to be able to build that trust amongst your clients, your potential clients, your business partners, potential stakeholders, investors. There are a lot of components that go hand in hand. Sometimes someone who may have been a client of yours could potentially become an investor or a stakeholder in your company, or may potentially, if you branch out, have an advisory board, feed into the different components that create your brand. And so consistency of your personal message along with your company message has to be there. You cannot separate the two any longer. We are in a different era.
Yeah. Here's another thing that it's bantered about a lot in the last years, and that is company culture. And, I was thinking about this yesterday, quite, at a deeper level. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a solopreneur and I have a company. What really is my culture? It's kind of hard to figure that out when I'm living alone, working alone, here alone, and working virtually. Is the brand landing, and does the culture, land when I'm working alone? So can you talk to us a little bit about company culture and why that's so important for the end user?
Absolutely. Company culture really resonates with how are you, how open-minded, how receiving are you, how welcoming are you to different ideas? Perhaps, as you move into posting things on a virtual scale, on a virtual market, you're going to find people who may not have the same opinion as you. How do you deal with them? What is the customer service experience like when they approach you, even as a solopreneur, even when you are a one-man show, when you have a lot of things coming at you, just like myself. I'm a one-woman show in my work as well, and it's a constant demand on our time, and it's this juggling of time. So when you have stakeholders, you have clients, you have individuals that are always reaching out to you, and you need to be mitigating or putting out those fires, how do you handle those tasks, and how do you handle that with the grace? Because that's going to reflect on how you're going to handle the situation when you have a client in front of you, when you have who's not plugging into the way that you want or them to plug into.
Yeah.
And it's putting out those fires, and the small things are going to share and show how you handle the big things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, where my company is concerned, where I'm concerned, if I have to call myself out on one thing, that is too many things on the plate, running way behind and trying to make it look like everything is, you know, is
we do that
as possible, you know, running as smoothly as possible. And it is, but I do have a lot on my plate, and that's okay, because, you know, the company's growing, it's doing really well. And if it means I'm working 14, 15, 16-hour days, that's what it takes right now. That's what I do. I do want to touch upon, and great advice, by the way, really great. The name of your book, and here it is: To Be Your Badass Self, a guide to using your inner energy for brand success. Very interesting.
Be your badass self, right? I'm a badass woman. You know, you think, what does badass mean? Well, badass means to be in your passion, to be true to your purpose, and to speak your authentic voice. And authentic meaning your truthful voice, not the one that you decide you want to show the world, but your actual voice, whether someone likes it or doesn't like it. It is to be your true self. Right. And then what is your inner energy? Well, when you start tapping into that voice that's inside you, and you start really listening to it and following through with it, then you're going to be in your energy. And when you are in that passion or in your energy, you're actually creating from a heart space. And when you start creating from a heart space, everything you do touches, and touch turns into magic. Really, it's right. It's this magnetic personality that comes out. People are drawn to that. I think
people are afraid of losing clients if they do that. You know, I think that that's the reason, if at all, you know, they're feeling held back by being true and authentic. I think it's probably just the fear of loss of clients. But, you know, by being so authentic, you're going to be, you know, gaining many more, I would assume.
Well, when you have billions of people on this planet to choose from, if you lose one, what the heck?
Pretty much. Oh, well.
You know, like I don't think there is that saying that I might not be everyone's cup of tea. And it's very true. It's fine if you're not everyone's cup of tea. It's time that we sat there and said, it's okay if you don't like me. That's fine. You know, you can journey on and find your own tribe. For me, you know, it was one fine day, Clarissa, when I woke up and I realized that I was not doing what I really wanted to do. Yeah. And I had lived more life than I had left to live. And that's a motto that I really live by. And that's when it really struck me that if I do not sit up and do what I really want to do, I'm going to find myself this old lady and unhappy. And if you ask many people as they are passing on from this life to another, one of their biggest regrets is that they didn't do what was in their heart and in their passion. They didn't spend the time that they wanted to, not spend the money, but spend the time that they wanted to with those people that they love. So take those moments right now, speak your mind, walk your truth, and be yourself, because that is the only thing that we are here to do, is to do that. Not to someone else's.
Absolutely. I love that. And I that's why I love you so much, because you are so true and so authentic, and you always say it like it is. And as I was saying, and when I was setting up the show, we are, you know, we did go a little bit deeper, you and I. It's more than a business friendship. It's we took a one day and we had a nice long conversation about life. And life, for a while, as it does to many of us, didn't treat you so well either. And I know, I don't know if you want to go down that path or not, but I know that you did go down a path when you created a documentary called Fear, which is Face Everything and Rise. And I did take a look at the trailer on that. I have not taken a look at the entire film yet, and I promise you I will. I promise you that I will. But just the trailer in and of itself is enough to go, wow. Would you like to talk to us about that a second?
Absolutely. Fear, Face Everything, and Rise was a scary moment for me because as someone who was in the public light already, I was hosting shows. I was already well known as a personality here in Toronto. And Fear was a biopic on my life. And it was a biopic of coming from an immigrant family, being a first-generation immigrant, having grown up here in Canada, and then doing something completely out of character. And that is, I moved back to India. I felt like I was a diluted Indian. I had an arranged marriage, moved back to India, and lived in India for 15 years. Not unusual. The part that was unusual was this. Usually you increase your wealth. You go into a situation where you are more comfortable in life. I actually became uncomfortable. I went from a fairly well-off family, growing up in a very affluent part of Toronto, and moved back to rural India, into 500 square feet with no running water. Forget hot water, no running water.
Running water, right.
It was turned on at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was filled in a tank, and that was it. That tank of water was what sustained you for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 500 square feet, which is like you blink and you're at the door, you blink and you're at the wall, you blink and you're in the kitchen, that had around 8 to 10 people at the same time. And so there's no space, there's no personal space, and there's no such thing as, mind your own business sort of thing. Everyone is in everyone else's business. And that itself was very, very challenging. Now, having done that, I came back, and it was at this time that I decided that things were not going the way I wanted. And there were a number of things. I come from a community that is very, very closed and very Orthodox. I'm an Orthodox Christian from a small state in India called Kerala. And typically, the women from this community are very, very docile. They're very quiet. They're very submissive. They toe the line of their partner. They toe the line of their family, and they toe the line of the community, and they toe the line of whichever religion. For me, it was Christianity. And that was just the way it is. And I was an anomaly. I didn't fit into those things. Yeah. So I was considered to be a rebel. I was considered to be outspoken and too outspoken. But it wasn't a fault of mine. I grew up here in Canada where I didn't see female and male as being different species, and we grew up the same. I sat next to someone who was of the opposite gender. I had friends who were female and male. I didn't see color per se. I had friends from all different ethnicities. And having moved back to India and all of a sudden being told you can't wear pants, you can't do that, you can't hand someone something with your left hand because it's not considered right, you can't go out at this time without someone being there. No, you can't sit on the slab outside and get fresh air because the neighbors are going to talk. No, there were so many no's around me. And I lived in that constraining, conflicting, confining environment for a long time. When I stepped out of that and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, I actually faced the flack of the community, and I was ostracized, not just by them, by my family, by a lot of things. I went through a horrible, horrible story. And having said that, my documentary was really about sharing this with the millions of other women who don't have the courage to speak that truth. And my truth, I was just at the point where I didn't care whether you liked me or not. There was no further down in my barrel. I was scraping the bottom of my barrel.
Wow, what a story, though. I mean, to hear it told, it doesn't even sound possible in this day and age. And to think that this absolutely is a true story for many women all over the world is something that, to me is just absolutely incredible. And we are so blessed here in the United States. Many, 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 many of us are so blessed to have the freedoms that we do. Annie, I could be here, as you well know. We've had long chats before, but that is pretty much our 20 minutes. You've given us some great information about business, and you've given us some great, great nuggets about how to live a good, strong, esteemed, healthy, happy life. So I am thrilled for you. I know that you're up in Canada, and I do want to say, number one, where can people find your book, and how can they find you on social?
Well, you can find my book on Be Your Badass Self, a guide to using your inner energy for brand success is there. Social
Right.
media, you can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Annie Koshy or Annie J. Koshy. GTA
Right.
Social Media Network is my company, and I'm on radio every week with a show. So find me if you want to talk to me. But if you've got a personal brand story, you're struggling with your brand, you're struggling to get your message out there, need some media coverage, or want to just get written about, talked about, spoken about, reach out, and I'm happy to do that.
Fantastic. Annie Koshy, thanks so much for being there. Everybody, I told you and I promised you an extraordinary entrepreneur. Stay right there. We're going to be back at the top of the hour with yet one more extraordinary entrepreneur. All right. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the In the Limelight podcast, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. You can listen to this and all of my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Inspired News Radio. You'll find all of my videos and the In the Limelight digital magazine on ClarissaBurt.com. And don't forget to connect with me on social pretty much anywhere. Stay well until we meet again in the Limelight.